Okay, this video is about Bob Berran. He's a great artist from the USA. His name is Robert Lee Berran. Here's a self-portrait of himself here. He was an illustrator born like in the 1920s, and he fought with General Patton in General Patton's army in World War II in Europe. He's a great artist. You know, he had to make a living, so he did whatever he could make money doing. He did lots of covers for romantic novels, lots of portraits, you know, paintings of the family pets, a lot of magazine covers. His favorite thing to do was illustrate religious books. The reason I'm showing to you is that people think there's no more good art, and I sometimes had that feeling myself. But what I've realized is there's lots of excellent artists like this guy right here, Bob Berran. It's just that nobody knows about their work, so that's why I'm going to show you his paintings. He lived from 1923 to 2020. Okay, so let's just take a look at some of his paintings. It tells an interesting story too. So here is the hunter. And by the way, all this modern stuff about, you know, every other person is a, LGBTQ, that's all new. Okay, none of that stuff existed. I went to this big high school with about 5,000 kids. I never in my whole life met a single person in high school that was homosexual. Never heard it. I knew that there was such a thing, but there was not a single person known. I realized there were probably some nobody knew about, but what I'm trying to say is it was rare. I've heard predicted statistics of around 1.8%. I don't know what the real numbers are, but all I'm trying to say is culturally, it sort of like didn't exist. Okay, now it's like every day in the front headlines of the paper, and you know the whole country is supposed to be feminized and confused about their gender. That's a totally new thing. Okay, it used to be like this. You grew up and all the macho men were the heroes, the great sports athletes, the great hunters, the great pioneers, the great adventurers. Okay, all the TV shows were like this. Father Knows Best, you know, Chuck Connors, Charlton Heston, you know, all these guys, Rocky, Sylvester Stallone, Rambo, okay, Mel Gibson. I mean, that's what was on TV. John Wayne. It was very, very macho. So this would be like a typical painting in the old days, you know, and you'd imagine, oh, someday I'd like to climb Mount Everest. I'd like to go to, you know, Antarctica or something. It was very macho. Every kid I know when I was growing up wanted to be a professional athlete. Okay, here's a cowboy preacher, you know, and it's a bit of a joke on the cowboy preacher. He's got alcohol in his boot, you know, he's got his six right there. But you know what? These guys, you know, they would make things work. You look at Pope Julius. He protected Italy from Rome. Look at the modern guys. They want to destroy the country. They want to open up the you-know-what down south. It's the border. Okay, you can't have a country without a border. Okay, these guys wouldn't have allowed that. These guys wouldn't allow children to be castrated in the public schools just because of a euphemism. Gender affirming. Ridiculous, okay? These are beautiful paintings about real people trying to live, and he's got great paintings. This guy's an excellent artist, okay? And his favorite thing to do is these religious books. So he did several books painting the saints, okay? He did a bunch of other books, My Bible Friends. Okay, here is a painting of the Virgin Mary and Child. You know, it's beautiful. Look at that. It's beautiful. That's what Christian art is all about. The family is the centerpiece, and Christ, you know, and trying to get along with each other. It's beautiful. It's magnificent. It's good. It's true to how humans should try to be. Okay, here's some more of his books. You know, My Bible Friends. He illustrated a whole bunch of these series of Bible books, okay? And then I'm going to show you some of the things he did next. He did a lot of illustrations for romantic novels and all this type of stuff. Also a lot of movie covers and stuff like that, magazine covers. So here's sort of like the classic story. The girl's looking at the dress thinking she wishes she could have that dress. It's green, I think, to symbolize money. And the two guys are thinking, I wish she would go out with me. I'd buy her that dress if she'd go out with me. And it's a little bit like, this is starting to remind me of my own story with my own wife, okay? How men think, you know? All right, and so then one thing leads to another. Here's the painting of Romeo and Juliet, reminding me of my whirlwind courtship with my wife as she entrapped me. And then here is the Christmas gift painting by Bob Berran, and nothing like Christmas romance. And there's the mistletoe, and everything is happy, hunky-dory. Okay, and it's beautiful, coming home for Christmas. And then there's the big wedding, and she gets a ring on her finger. He gets a ring in his nose. Okay, and then the lovely church, and everybody's happy throwing the confetti. Okay, and then there's the happy family, and I like the sense of tradition, pictures of the old family members. That's what you should have on your wall, pictures of old family members, okay? So the kids learn the history of their own family, so they try to live up to the history of their ancestors. That's how a family should be. And we were a happy family. I gave my wife the best house, everything. Everybody was happy except my wife for no reason. She just broke everything apart because he said I made the house into an exercise club instead of into a family home. Look how magnificent these paintings are. They're beautiful, okay? And that's what life was like. Riding around in the country, a very rural area where we lived, all these family farms, small farms. It was a safe place. The kids would go out fishing by themselves. That's like where I grew up, and that's like where I lived originally. Now I'm in a city. I'm in an apartment, a little place. It's a nice apartment, but I love living out in the country where you got a lot of land. The farther you go into the country, the more land you get for your money, the more peace and privacy you got. Cities are noisy. Okay, so here'd be like the family going for a nice walk, a stroll in the park, and that's what it was like. I loved when the kids were young. Things were good. Things were happy, okay? But if a woman wants to be unhappy, it doesn't matter what you give her. It doesn't matter what she got. We had a magnificent home. Everybody wanted to come visit us. It was so magnificent. It doesn't matter. If a wife convinces herself she wants to be unhappy, she'll cause trouble and break it all apart, which mine did for no reason. But anyways, this is what it was like when the kids were young. I loved it. It was so great. And that's like when I was a kid, it was in my brain. I will get married and have a big happy family and live happily ever after like my parents. It was just like, what could be better than that? Whereas nowadays, young guys, they don't want to get married. But I mean, this is domestic bliss right here. This is what it's like. And it's a lot of fun. I loved it. There's nothing like having a family. I mean, it's a great experience in life. I recommend everybody have kids. Even if you don't get married, having a kid, there's nothing like it. Anyways, and this is like kind of what marriage became after a while, The plants are first in line. The dog's kind of first in line. The kids are first in line. Then the dog, then the plants, and the old man is far down the line, despite the fact he's paying for everything. Okay. And spare me with she works too and she pays for everything. No, her money's her money. My money's her money. That's how it goes in marriage. But anyways, she broke it all apart, got divorced. So Papa was forced out of his house, forced into some stupid apartment. But, didn't take Papa long to find new love. Papa's girlfriend, super nice. Super nice. He's very happy with her. And here's another picture. And of course, these are like from his romance novels, okay? I wish I was as tall and handsome as her, but my girlfriend's as pretty as she is, okay? And anyways, isn't that beautiful? It's all nice. So he's got a lot of paintings like that. They're very, very nice. It's beautiful work. He's an excellent artist. And so there are lots of great artists around. Most people just don't know about him. So I'm glad I found out about him. I think his art is fantastic. Bob Berran, you can go to his website. I think it's bobberran.com. And he's got lots of beautiful paintings. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed seeing that.